Prime's exclusive wildcard playoff game is Saturday night. Jordan Love and the Packers take on Caleb Williams and the Bears. Not a Prime member? Sign up for a 30-day free trial to stream the game.
That's going to be caught for the touchdown.
NFC North rivals square off in the latest chapter of the NFL's oldest feud. The Packers and Bears in Prime's exclusive wildcard playoff game. Saturday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Only on Prime. Sign up for a 30-day free trial today. Restrictions apply. See Amazon.com/Amazon Prime for details.
Good morning, Crust. It's a great day to be a bread brother.
Ugh, mornings are not my jam. Or jelly.
Oh, come on. Stop loafing around.
I just woke up feeling hollow inside.
Psst, just grab one of the new Morning Uncrustables sandwiches, like Bright Eyed Berry or Up an Apple, filled with 12 grams of protein and tons of deliciousness. Crust, what are you eating?
It's just granola, not even yogurt.
No crust, no fuss. Uncrust your mornings.
You're listening to Achtung, Millwall, broadcasting from the beautiful South Burnley. Accept no substitute.
Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to Achtung, Millwall. My name is Nick Hart. You're listening, of course, to the #1 Millwall podcast. We speak on the brink of FA Cup weekend. Once upon a time, a source of great excitement in the football world. These days, sadly, the FA Cup is seen as something of a nuisance almost, listeners? There's some sense of that. Reading the news that Dan Millwall, of course, travelled to Turf Moor to play Burnley in the FA Cup third round. And Alex Neil's prompted to say to the News Den that we're not going to take it lightly. We're hugely competitive and we want to win. Asking if there'll be rotation, he said this would almost certainly be. We're going to play some of the lads who have not had the minutes in the recent league games. Obviously, the priority for the Lions campaign this season is the Championship, playoff football, possibly higher. Dare we even say that? I think I dare say it, listeners. There's absolutely no reason why we can't think of top two when you look at the recent form of some of the teams around us. If we're bringing back players, I noticed Josh Coburn was being mentioned as possibly being involved in the squad on Saturday up at Burnley. And form has been pretty good. We have yet to see any transfer dealings in the January transfer window, but who knows what that may or may not bring over the course of the month. So I think there's every prospect that we're in for a very exciting season. The FA Cup, as much as romantic old fools like me might yearn for the olden days, is a bit of a nuisance. As it gets in the way. It presents opportunities for injuries and heavy pitches, long trips to Lancashire in the freezing cold, wet, damp of the English winter that we've got at the moment here. So, I don't hold out much hope for a cup run. Alex Neil does mention the prospect possibly of getting a big team at home in the next round. Should we get past Burnley? We'll see. I'm not going to be, waiting on that, dear listeners. So, the FA Cup, funny old business now, listeners. It's certainly lost its glamorous edge, and it's become the preserve of teams to grudgingly take part in almost. Such is modern football, whether you like it or not. Now then, the reason I'm doing this particular show is because we're doing one of our retrospective looks back into the past. And I'm going to take you back to an era that was very exciting for me at the age of 15 going to 16. That's 1976. I've been doing these notes of the lurking, nagging doubt that I've done this fixture before, and I can't find any trace or evidence that I have. So I'm going to do it. If I'm doing it again, listeners, and you've heard this one before, then forgive me. I'm getting old. I have checked on Apple Podcasts. I can't find that we've done this particular fixture. It's one from 1976, 18th of December, to be precise. A win for Millwall at Turf Moor. Burnley 1, Millwall 3 in front of 8,393, as I say, at Turf Moor. League Division 2, 76-77 season was a fantastic season for me. It was the year 1976, to be precise, which involved promotion from the third division with a terrific run at the end of the 1975-76 season. So effectively the year that was 1976 was a tremendous time to be a Millwall fan. We got promoted from Division 3 amidst, packed houses and Trevor Lee's overhead kick in front of the Brighton 23,000 at the Den. all of that. And then the first part of the 76-77 season was wonderfully exciting. It included famous victories over Chelsea, goal-scoring wins over, I remember 2 successive 4-2 wins. I think we beat Hereford one year, and I think it was Plymouth 4-2. Can't remember now, but goals. It was an exciting time to be a Millwall fan, and this was an exciting win. It was actually, there are highlights of this fixture on YouTube. If you search Mill v Burnley 1976, you'll find it. Wonderfully grainy footage from the old big match. Used to have the various local TV stations around the country would do their own, local games next day coverage, highlights, packages. And this was from, I think it might be Granada Television. Some very amateur camera work. The opening goal was a shot from Tony Hazell from a quickly taken free kick from distance, and the camera doesn't actually follow the flight of the ball. It shows Hazell shooting into the net and then running away saying with the words "goal" from the commentator, which is really old school commentary. But anyway, there we are. That was the coverage that we had at the time. Really heavy looking pitch. I'm just looking at it now as I'm speaking to you. Burnley in a wonderful claret and V, sky blue V, and a good goal for their equaliser. That was from Terry Cochrane, I think it was. Got a shot from distance, beat Ray Goddard in goal. Wonderful old vision of the 1970s, and all pretty much all terraced stadium. Some of the long shots of the ground are just very nostalgic for anyone of my era, because that was the era of football we brought up in. The Lions wearing a terrific, absolutely terrific kit this season. Buckter, the big lion rampant on the chest. This was a white shirt and blue shorts arrangement. That season we played in royal blue shirts and white shorts. Second goal's just going in as a chip forward from Tony Hazell's TREVOR, and it's scrambled home from close. I think that was, let me just check the score line. Who's got the second goal there? There. Well, it's Seasman, John Seasman, 36 minutes, scrambled that one in from a nod down by the wonderful TREVOR Lee. Always, one of my favourite all-time players. I've had the privilege of speaking with him when we were doing the Wall Talk podcasts last year. But that was a nod down by TREVOR and scrambled home by John Seasman, who I will come back to as one of the players that we review out of this fixture. So that's 2-1 for the Lions. Then, as the caption has it, we're into the second half. I think they hit the crossbar. Let me just follow this passage of play here. Goes for a corner on the left side, and I think as the ball comes in, they hit the woodwork. Burnley, the floodlights are wonderfully dim. such was the standard of floodlighting at the time. So the corner comes in, it goes deep. I think it put back into the box here, and so it is. And it's headed off the line. Excuse me, headed off the line there. I think it was Dave Donaldson. Oh no, Ray Evans. Ray Evans, great player. Ray Evans on the line. So the Lions maintained a slender 2-1 lead at this stage as Burnley were trying to force their way back in. I think it's from the break, actually, from the second corner. TREVOR Lee on a run forward wins a free kick, just to take the pressure off the Lions there. And terrific afro haircut, Trevor. If you're listening to this show, mate, love the afro. That was very 70s. Deep free kick inside. This will be the third goal, which I think gets scored by Barry Fairbrother, another name that I'm going to come back to on this show. He was only with us briefly. Barry Fairbrother came from Orient, so it's lumped forwards out to the right side. Evans puts the ball forward. It's a nice move, actually, this goal. I've seen this footage before. It comes in from the right side. I think that's Evans again. And a flying header there from Barry Fairbrother. Terrific goal, headed in from close range, and that made it 3-1. And that was that, as they say. The Mill team, managed by Gordon Jago. This was the kind of high points, really, of the Gordon Jago era. The 1976-77 season would be probably the high point in many respects, some of the games and the position that we reached under Jago. But your Mill team for this particular fixture, Ray Goddard, Ray Evans, Dave Donaldson, tremendous defender there. Terry Brisley, I've mentioned. Barry Kitchener, club legend. Tony Hazell, Trevor Lee, John Seasman, Pat Sharkey. There's a name I hadn't thought of in a long, long time. Pat Sharkey, Phil Walker, and Barry Fairbrother. No substitute listed. So whether there was a substitute for this fixture or not, I don't know. Now there is footage, as I say, on YouTube. I've also got a Sunday Mirror match report dated the 19th of December, 1976. The era of the burgeoning punk rock movement, listeners. It was taking shape at this time. Not that I knew much about it personally at this point. Burnley 1, Millwall 3, Sunday Mirror. The Lions gave battered Burnley a sharp lesson in the lost art of finishing. The lost art of finishing is very poetic. But all it did was upset the Burnley crowd, who walked out in droves when Millwall rattled in number 3 in the 79th minute. And they chased manager Joe Brown at the end, shouting obscenities at him. They weren't happy, dear listeners. Millwall began in the worst possible way with some unhappy defensive work, it says. Donaldson tried to present Burnley with a 4th-minute Christmas gift with a shocking pass back to goalkeeper Goddard. Smith collected, and as he attempted to take the ball around the goalkeeper, Goddard pulled his feet from under him. Luckily for Millwall, it was a yard outside the penalty box. Nothing came of it. Burnley looked well in command by the 15th minute when Tony Hazell, who was to play like 3 men, hammered a screaming 35-yarder. They don't quite capture that on the YouTube footage, listeners. A 35-yarder into the top left corner of the home net. This was much against the run of play, but so was Burnley's equaliser then on the half hour. The superb pass from Mike Summerby, who's a Manchester City legendary name, actually, playing out his career at Burnley. A superb pass allowed Cochrane to slip inside and hit a left-footed drive well out of Goddard's reach, so 1-1. 5 minutes later, Hazell swept a 40-yard free kick to Burnley's 6-yard line where Lee nodded it for Seasman to scramble it in. The third goal was almost too hard to believe. Evans headed a noble shot off the Millwall line and immediately galloped up the right wing to plant the centre smack onto the head of Fairbrother and that was 3-1. That's the end of the match report. 1976-77 was a fantastic season to be a Millwall fan. We had been promoted amidst, great, glory the season before, that surging run from Christmas to promotion in front of the 23,000 at Burnley, and I think it was actually secured in the end at Swindon, almost the very last game of the season. And then we had the drama of Crystal Palace still being able to overturn us in the 3rd division. It wasn't cut and dried. We'd done all that we could, won the points, but Palace had one last game versus Chesterfield at home, played after the way it was organised, and the fixtures were played after the end of the season almost. This was like a one that was held over, so they had to win to maintain an outside chance of overturning the Lions. And Millwall fans aplenty, myself included, went to Selhurst Park for this fixture. Crystal Palace 0, Chesterfield 0, and Chesterfield I think came out bewildered by the amount of support they were receiving from the White Horse Lane Inn, which was terracing back then, rather than the boxy kind of seated end that they've got now. And I can well remember the whole game singing Chesterfield. The goalkeeper, Baldy, I think we got called. I didn't know what his name was, but he performed miracles to keep Crystal Palace at bay, and they couldn't get a goal. And the celebrations, because that meant that Millwall were promoted at the end of it, still live on in my memory now, even as I'm speaking. So they got us promoted back to Division 2 one season after being relegated. And the 76-77 season began in a really exciting fashion. We had some fantastic results. 3-0 versus Chelsea. That is on YouTube in front of 21,000 at the Den. We were going great guns. We had an FA Cup win at Highbury over Orient. 4-2 versus it was Luton. So Hereford 1 week, 4-2 win for Millwall. And then 1 week later, we played Luton, beat them 4-2 as well. It was exciting, swaggering football played under Gordon Jago, and this was really the high point of his time with us. It would fall away as the season wore on. We'd finish in 10th position in the end, but the early part, the 76 half of the 76-77 season was very, very exciting. And this away win contributed to that. Top scorer for the season was John Seasman with 16 goals, followed by Trevor Lee with 10 goals. So I've picked out John Seasman in particular as one of my names from the game that we've covered here. Again, I've got a sense I've mentioned John Seasman before. I'm almost certain I have. So if I'm doubling and you've heard all this before, forgive me. It bears repeating, in my opinion. He was a great player, great striker for us, inside forward, listed in Neil Fissler's A to Z of Millwall players. 189 games for Millwall between 1975 and 1980, and 42 goals. He was born in Liverpool in February 1955, and his career took in Tranmere, Luton Town, from whom he joined Millwall initially on loan in 76, before we had to sell him as the club was spiralling into debt-fueled crisis. Tell me if you've heard this story before. We had to sell Johnny Seasman and Tony Towner in a double to Rotherham United. This was the point that we'd reached. Sold the two players for 90,000 to Rotherham, of all teams, listeners. That was the low point we'd reached. He would finish his career from Rotherham via Cardiff, Rochdale, Chesterfield, Northwich, Victoria, and finished playing for Andover Town in 1982, some while afterwards. The little biog that Neil has done here captures it John Seasman very well. A skillful, compact and highly intelligent footballer. He was intelligent. He became one of Gordon Jago's best signings after he'd impressed on loan. A member of the Lions side that claimed promotion from Division 3 in 1976. But his days were numbered when George Petchy must go, took over from Jago. Sold to Rotherham with Tony Towner, where they claimed a Division 3 title in 1981. Two great players. Tony Towner on the wing, Johnny Seasman in the middle. Helping Chesterfield win a Division 4 crown also in 1985. After retirement, John became a sales manager, selling advertising space, then an area manager for football in the community, a scout, and is now a player's agent. I think he may have retired. I did check on Google. He's listed as an agent, but I think he must be retired by now, I would think. But great player. Good picture of him wearing that fantastic Buckter shirt, kind of white V-neck, white collar with a big lion rampant on the chest. Lovely, lovely kit. The reverse of which, the away kit, was worn in the YouTube footage. I will stick a link to the YouTube footage in the show notes when we publish it. I've also picked out Terry Brisley, another great midfielder. He played more briefly, shall we put it, midfielder. 1975 to 1977, 129 games for Millwall, 14 goals, born in Wapping, 1950. His career started and made his name really at Orient and Southend, before joining the Lions in July 1975. After his Lions career was over, he moved on to Charlton, Pompey, and then Maidstone and Chelmsford, and retired for injury, as so many players did at that time. Wapping-born Terry had his dream come true, joining the club that he supported as a boy when Gordon Jago signed him from Leyton Orient in 1975. So Millwall fan, Terry Briz. He played 43 games as the Lions claimed promotion from Division 3 in his first season, but was shipped out to Charlton in January 1978 within days of the arrival of George Petchy, who sold him. After his arrival at Coldblow Lane, another criminal act by George Petchy. There we go. He won another promotion with Portsmouth in 1979 to 80 before becoming a foreign exchange broker in the city, and is now gardener based in Brentwood. This be a few years. I don't know if he'll still be working. He might be retired now. Just looking at his Wikipedia career, he's 75 now, so must be retired. So yeah, as I say, 142 appearances for Orient, loaned out to Southend before 107, 14 goals for Millwall. I think these must be league appearances rather than all appearances. He then moved on to Charlton, 48 appearances, 5 goals, Portsmouth 55 and 13 goals, and then non-league football with Maidstone and Chelmsford. Really good midfielder, scored one of the goals in that fantastic defeat that I always think of whenever I think of these times, the 3-0 win over Chelsea. Brilliant little header, brilliant little player, Terry Brisley. And finally, And finally, a player that doesn't get many mentions, and as I've said many, many times on these shows, one of the points and purposes of these retrospective looks is to name players that you don't think of very often. So I'm going to go with Barry Fairbrother, scorer of the third goal. Really nice header, actually. Nice move. The breakout from the goal line clearance that I've mentioned on the YouTube footage. He came to us from Orient as well. We signed a couple from Orient. Didn't play many games for us, 16 games. 9 and 4 goals, 1975 to 77. Barry was another Leyton Orient stalwart who joined Millwall with Terry BRISLEY in exchange for Dougie Alder. But his then career as a very direct forward was over before it started when he sustained a groin injury. Restricted him to just 23 appearances before scoring 3 goals. He went on to try his luck in Australian football in 1978, swapping the Lions of Coldblow Lane for the Lions of Brisbane. He has been living in Queensland ever since and has worked in the real estate industry and owns Hooker Investor Services. So good luck to you, Barry, out there in Australia. Briefly, a good player for us, but the injury, kind of extinguished it before it ever really got going. His career took in Chelsea, Orient, Durban Celtic in South Africa, Maritzburg, South African club, Millwall obviously, and then Brisbane Lions in 77. There we are, Barry Fairbrother. So there we are. I will stick a link to the YouTube footage. It's a wonderful glimpse back in time to a different, very much a pre-Premier League look, and just wonderful little glimpse of history there, listeners. So there it is. That's Millwall winning 3-1 at Turf Moor. It'd be great if we get a result like that in the Cup on Saturday. I don't think any of us are too bothered about the Cup this season, in truth, but better to win than to lose, and it'd be nice to see 1 or 2 fringe players get some game time. So we'll see how it goes tomorrow. There is no TV coverage. I can't find any method of finding any coverage of the game tomorrow, so I'm going to have to follow it via X. I'm not going to go up there for this one, listeners. But we will be back here on Achtung Millwall after the trip to Vicarage Road, which is a week Saturday, for a crucial league fixture in the Championship. So until the next edition of Achtung, well, thank you for listening to this little, hors d'oeuvre to the main action next week. Until the next edition, from me, Nick Hart, thanks for listening. It's Arrivederci Millwall, and bye for now.
Achtung, Millwall.
Who do you want to watch?
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.